Join us, the Mr. and Mrs. Morgan you know, for a new 15-minute weekly recap about the most recent episode of Survivor Season 42.
Come on in. We'll appear in your podcast feeds every Wednesday morning, so you're all caught up before the newest episode airs on Wednesday night.
Like, subscribe, and share while you outwit, outplay, and outlast.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls and Brew.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Balls and Brew. I am your host, Rod Morgan. This podcast is produced by Jimmy Jam Riska. Joining me from North Carolina, the hotbed of college basketball, and not necessarily pro basketball, but this episode's all about pro basketball. It's Chris King. Chris, hello.
Rod, hello. I know you love crossovers between pods.
Absolutely.
I know Jimmy loves wrestling tidbits on other pods. I got the perfect thing for you both.
All right.
Vince McMahon's grandson, Shane McMahon's son, Declan McMahon, has declared that he is taking his talents to Bloomington to play running back for the IU football team.
Declan McMahon straight out of the mean streets of Greenwich, huh? Just like his proud papa. Must be the money, huh? Must be the money. That's awesome. I had no idea that he had a kid who was good at football. He's going to play at IU for your fighting Hoosiers, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Randomly, I'm at a gas station in South Carolina with my IU gear, as always, and I get stopped by a random dude telling me this. Random dude in South Carolina stops to tell me Shane McMahon's son's going to play football at IU.
How about that? That's some good wrestling knowledge here at the top of Balls and Brew, and that's something that came completely out of left field. And somebody else that I know can bring some takes from time to time that come completely out of left field, but we love him for it. He's one of the OGs of this podcast network. It's our guy in Wisconsin, Matt Kozerski, a.k.a. Wu-Tang. Hello.
You can do it. Put your ass into it. Who's ready? Who's ready to pod tonight, gentlemen? Who is ready? Who's ready to put the ass into it?
Is that what we're doing? Is that what we do to make playoff preview picks this year?
That's how we roll, baby. That's how we roll. Who's ready? I think we are going to have the best pod we've ever had. I'm looking forward to talking to you two gentlemen. In addition to talk about who we think is going to make it through the gauntlet. Let's call it the gauntlet. Instead of playoffs, we're gonna say gauntlet.
The Eastern Conference this year that's an easy analogy to make.
Yeah, let's call it the gauntlet. And if you make a mistake by calling it the playoffs instead of the gauntlet, you have to say how much you love LeBron.
Now, see, I knew it. All right, here's the solid promise I make to you, Wu-Tang, and long-time listeners of the Morgan You Know Podcast Network and this very podcast know that you love to take your shots at LeBron, and you love nothing more than when things don't work out for the King. And they certainly did not work out for the King this year. And I promise you this, you can dance on his grave and have the floor be all yours at the end of the podcast, but let's talk the actual playoff participants first before we get there. Is that agreed?
That's totally agreed, and I think I'm actually going to be able to handle that. It's not like the time you made me try not to swear.
I was going to say, that didn't work out very well at all, did it?
The same.
All right, but you enjoyed the season. Do you have any overall season thoughts, any take on the season that you want to get out here before we get started?
I don't know. This might be kind of a hot take, but it was kind of a boring season, if you ask me. It wasn't really,
How so do you mean? How so and boring? Boring can mean so many different things. What do you mean in this instance?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of the actual games and the gameplay, nothing special. I mean, I felt like the entire season was like manufactured drama. Shit like Ben Simmons, James Harden. And no one's really looking. I mean, there were some teams I think played really, really well, and they were interesting. God,
So what you're saying here, I think, is a lot of what drives the NBA's Twitter mentions and a lot of its engagements on Twitter and a lot of its storylines for its writers and its shows that are on television. Those don't interest you, but the actual play on the floor this year you thought was really good, huh?
Good but boring is what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like very, like what was the big to do, I guess. I mean, you want to look at the Heat having the best record, but
they don't. The Suns do.
Well, in the East, I'm saying.
True. Yeah, they're the number one seed in the East.
Yeah, I mean, is that even a cool storyline or just kind of fucking lame. You know what I
Hashtag
mean?
heat culture. Hashtag heat culture.
The Bucks, everyone is. I'll tell you who's kind of the dark horse, I think, of this, but it's only been the last little bit, is Boston.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll get to the
We'll
Celtics.
get to
They're
that.
2 seed in the East.
Other than Boston, there wasn't a whole. I didn't really like the stories.
All right. Well, let me go to Chris here real quick. Chris, how excited should you and I and the listeners be for a guy who basically just came in and shat upon the NBA season to help us preview the playoffs right now? Should we be fired up about this?
Listen, there's certain aspects where he's not wrong. I do think there were some big storylines that overshadowed a lot of the other stuff that happened on the court. There was too much Ben Simmons, James Harden.
Unfortunately, we've got to talk about him here in a little bit.
Yeah. And so you didn't get to see the play on the court as much or pay attention to it as much. No one got to see Memphis make this unbelievable climb.
Literally, no one got to see Memphis. NBA put
Yeah.
Memphis on national TV. What are we doing?
Right. And so you miss these things that are actually great, and it's going to help grow the brand more. And you didn't see it, much less like not enough people talked about that climb that Boston had that we'll get into in a little bit later. But like, I think they needed to show a little bit more. And you're right, especially in the Memphis case. Put them on TV. Let the country see this team.
Well, how about too, Chris, some of the not just what they're missing with positives like Memphis, but how they, overreach and talk about the negatives of, certain teams that people can't bring up. To me, that that was a terrible, why were they keep on pushing that? That team was terrible. We all knew they were terrible. It was a bunch of old fucking dudes, and they didn't know how to play together. But, they kept on pushing it. And it's let's talk about the gameplay.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Let me veer you away from that because you're getting dangerous to talk about something that we agreed was only going to be at the end of the podcast. You did very well, but let me ask you this. Chris and I have had a couple of different legendary debates on this podcast. We had a whole 20 minutes where we were going back and forth with one another about the MVP. What's your stance on the MVP?
The who's it going to be or the qualifications?
No, the qualifications there's no definition, so that could take days. Who's your MVP?
Jokic.
Yeah. See, I had a feeling with when Chris kind of backed you up with what you were saying about the NBA season that you and him were going to be one and the same about Jokic as the MVP, and Chris went into glowing reasons as to why Jokic. We've talked about it before, so we're not going to belabor it here. But what I will say,
I'd probably agree.
What I will say in the new era of the NBA where numerous guys across the league's usage is up and possessions are up and shooting is up and all of the above, it's really, really easy for guys to start to put up historic seasons, right? And we talk so often about the historic season that Jokic is putting up this year, but there's a historic season that Giannis is putting up, and there's historic seasons that other guys are all putting up at the same time because the usage weight is just up. So that's all I'm gonna say. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
But Rod, when I think of Jokic, and I don't know if Chris brought this up, out of all those guys, he's got the worst fucking team.
But that again, we had a whole discussion about this. I don't want to give a guy an MVP award because his team stinks. That shouldn't be why a guy wins an MVP award. Because guess what? The Philadelphia 76ers aren't that great around Joel Embiid either.
I didn't have to use that as a reason to win my argument.
No. But what I'm saying is, Rod, their record could be a lot worse. They're in the playoffs. It's not like they played in a playing game. I think there's legitimacy when you think about who he had around him. I mean, seriously.
Sure. Listen, I love it. We're giving MVP awards now based on who's not on a guy's team. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and let's just keep this in mind as a criteria that we're now keeping as we move forward in the MVP narrative from years to come. That it matters who's not on a guy's team, and that actually helps him win the MVP. I think this is a great newfound discovery for the NBA, and I'm excited to move forward with this as a bedrock.
Feel free.
I just don't understand it. I just don't understand that part of it. And Chris, like you said, you didn't make that argument, and now Wu-Tang's bringing this other one up, and I'm derailing us on the MVP again, which is something I do not want to do.
But Rod, Well, who's your call then? I'm sure is it Embiid?
Believe it or not, I want Joel Embiid to win because of my bet. But honestly, I think that Giannis is really getting slept on here. I think he is absolutely really getting slept on here. And like we're so busy talking about Jokic and so busy trying to defend Jokic, and then I'm here screaming for Embiid, and I think other people are screaming for Embiid because all we've ever asked him to do is play an entire season, and he's done it. And meanwhile, the defending champ, okay, who all we asked him to do was win in the playoffs. And what did he do last year? Win in the playoffs to the tune of 50 points in a Game 7, 15 rebounds, brought his team back this year, moved him up all the way to could have been the second seed if they wanted to, and they decided to not win the final game, which was probably the smart move because now their path back to the Eastern Conference Finals is much easier. Chris, am I right or am I wrong about Giannis? Because we all know you love Jokic. Tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong about what I just said about Giannis there, and then we're going to move on.
So you're not wrong. However, you brought up way too much about what happened last season when he won the finals, and that shouldn't take into account about this year's MVP.
That's true. You're right.
I think in Giannis's case, you have the same issue with him that you would have with Luka. Too little, too late. Yeah, the second half of the season, especially for Giannis, has been phenomenal, much like Luka, but it wasn't there at the beginning. And you got to give it to somebody that's been doing it all year, and that leaves two guys, Embiid and then Jokic.
God, Chris, I can't disagree with you more. Giannis has been there most of the year, and he's played pretty much the same from start to finish.
I think what Chris is referring to is the slow start the Bucks were off to, right? Like there was times at the beginning of the year where they were down closer to 6 and 7 than they were to 2, 3, and 4, and then they kind of solidified there in the middle. I think more that's what Chris. I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's more what you meant, right?
But if even if that's the case, everyone in that top 4 or 5 and even if you could throw Chicago in there at the very beginning, which again Chicago and Golden State, I'd love to somehow bring that up because I have some points of view. But like
they're both in playoff series, so I'm sure they'll come up.
But like looking at everyone was jockeying. There was no one that was ever at one point. The fucking Nets were like number one for probably. I think it'd be too bad we don't have a stat guy just to look at it right now as we talk. I'd like to see who spent the largest amount of time at the top of the East this year.
I would imagine the Heat are probably pretty close to that because there were numerous stretches.
Yeah, it'd be the Heat, and then after that would have been the Bulls. Heat, then Bulls, and then after that it would have been a toss-up.
Nah, the Nets weren't there really for that long, man. Once Kevin Durant went down, they tanked. And you got to remember, Durant was out for a bunch of games, and he got hurt a while ago because he's been back for a while.
But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, I mean, doesn't that kind of make sense? Like, they're all roughly the same fucking.
No, and again,
squads.
Listen, you can use language, but can we just a fewer F words is all I'm asking for?
Sure. Sure.
I mean, we're 20 minutes in, and we've already had 4 on the people, right? And it's just not something that comes up very often. That's all I'm saying.
All right, fine. I'll speak more eloquently.
There we go. All right, so that's the MVP debate, though, right? See, Woo, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on, and I wanted to just get one more opinion on it because I think this year more than any other, it's been a hotly debated topic, and there's just many different angles it can go down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think anyone would be wrong. Whoever wins the MVP is not a wrong choice.
And I totally agree, and I want to just state that one last time. I know I've come out anti-Jokic recently, and I'm kind of doing it for effect and entertainment value, and because I want Embiid to win the thing. But Jokic is an amazing player. Don't get me wrong here, man. I'm not trying to be completely blind.
And Luka or even Tatum, I suppose, would maybe start cracking top 5s at this point.
That's true, but we can get into a lot of these players as we move on to the different series. We've talked an awful lot about the East. Let's just go ahead and stay there, and we'll touch on each one of the series, drop a little bit of what we think about each team, give our prediction, and then we will move on. All right, let's start with the number 1 seed in the East. We talked about them. It is the Miami Heat, and the Atlanta Hawks dispatched the Cleveland Cavaliers just this evening as we are taping on a Friday night to become the 8th overall seed. Chris, what are your initial thoughts on that series?
I don't think it mattered who was going to face Miami. Miami has the series in the bag. I don't think either one of those teams could win a 3-game series, let alone a 5 or a 7.
Wu-Tang, how about you?
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I completely disagree.
Ooh, I kind of did too. I'm interested to hear what you got.
I think Atlanta has everything to match up well against those guys. And they, I think it's a really close series. I don't think it's by any means you're saying, oh yeah, well Miami's gonna just fucking destroy them. Like, no.
Onyeka Okongwu is a bit of an X factor here. All right, because Chris,
You
you are
really
not
like him.
wrong that the Miami
Did he play
Heat.
high school with the Ball brothers?
I have
by the way,
absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I just know of his
Chris,
roster
check
for the
that on
Atlanta
your
Hawks.
phone. Yeah, Chris is gonna check that as you go, Rod. Go ahead.
And he's a very athletic, very rangy defender. And there were a couple of stretches in tonight's game versus the Cavs where I saw the Hawks lock down on defense in ways that I wasn't sure they'd be able to do. Now, Capella went out of this game with an injury, and that certainly could spell disaster, but at this point I'm operating on the fact that maybe it was just a bit of a thing that he can get over and at least come back for the back end of this series. I worry about the Miami Heat being able to score enough points, Chris. If Jimmy Butler's a bit off, who on the Miami Heat am I supposed to be afraid of? Duncan Robinson, he's been so touch and go this year. Is it Tyler Hero? I mean, are the Miami Heat going to score enough points? Bam, really? Wow. I never thought of him really as a scorer. He's more of a jack of all trades, do what needs to be done.
Exactly. He is that jack of all trades, do what needs to be done. We talked about him earlier this year, and I said this exact same thing. If you need him to go out and get you 25 to 30 points, he will do that. If you just need him to get 10 points and 17 boards, he will do that. He will do what you need to get done to help your team win the game, and that's who they'll lean on.
Do you think Bam reminds you a little bit of a obviously like a young Andre Iguodala?
A little taller, I think, right? I think
he's
he has to do a little bit
taller.
more in the lane than Iguodala ever was, but I can see where you're going.
Yeah, like, just fucking just solid players.
All right, let's do predictions here. The only other X factor I would have is Trae Young, man. Is that guy just he's like, Chris, you brought up wrestling at the beginning of this podcast, right? Like, this dude loves playing heel. He loves nothing more than being in a away arena where they're booing him and the crowd is going crazy and he just lights you up for 45, right? So I kind of am with you, Chris, that the Heat are going to win this, and so I'm going to predict that they will. But I think that this might be a bit of a closer series than you were thinking.
Possibly. I still see Miami as being the best team in the East, and I think they'll at least still prove that. And if they this is a revenge series against Atlanta. Atlanta knocked them out last year.
East. Wow. All right. Woo,
Rod, are you writing all these down?
I'm writing these down right as we speak. Woo, are you going to shock the world here?
I don't think it's much of a shock, much like when Dikembe Mutombo and Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf shocked the Seattle Supersonics back in, what was it, like 89?
No, I think it was in the 90s.
Yeah. But I'm fuck it. I'm going with Atlanta. I actually think it's going to happen, and that's not even a hot take or me trying to be like woo crazy. Like, I legit think.
Well, I mean, it is a number 8 seed beating a number 1 seed, right? It is a team who's had to play 2 games in the last 3 days to take on a team who was off for the whole last week, right? So I mean, I'd say it's a good
thing, though. Is that always a good thing? You see what happens when they rest sometimes.
I think when that team's the Miami Heat with the veterans that we were talking about, I think it's actually probably a good thing for a team like that. Wouldn't you agree, Chris, that a team of veterans is probably it's actually a little better for?
Yeah, you want that extra rest.
Yeah, but I don't know. All right, we'll see.
If I can find a pen that works here. All right, so for the East, we got...
Well, you can always re-listen and then write it. Oh, but when we go into the next rounds, that's where we're going to be at.
All right, let's move on to the 2 versus 7. That is a team that's also been a little bit alluded to here. The Boston Celtics taking on the Brooklyn Nets. The Celtics were off to a terrible start at the beginning of this year. You might have thought Ime Udoka could be fired halfway into his first year. Now here we are at the end of the year. The Celtics have a historic, there's that word again, historic defense. They rose all the way to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, and Ime Udoka might make top 3 ballots for Coach of the Year. But that number 7 seed is the Brooklyn Nets, who happen to have Kevin Durant, who a lot of people consider to be the best player in the NBA, and a guy named Kyrie Irving, who I guess is pretty talented, but I really get absolutely disgusted talking about. Oh, and speaking of guys I get disgusted talking about, there's a rumor that Ben Simmons, yes, that's right, Ben Simmons, who voluntarily chose to not play basketball all of this year, is targeting games 4 through 6 to return to playing competitive basketball. Wu-Tang, I'm going to start with you this time. Chris got the bite of the apple first last time. What do you got?
Oh man. Well, this is easy for me. We all kind of know how I feel about the Nets as a team. This is like one of those things where you're not actually voting for the team they're playing against, even though at this point, they've been probably the best team the last 6 months, Well, maybe not 6 months, but since January.
Yeah, like honestly, if you look at it like the Celtics of 2021, right, when the season started, and then the Celtics of 2022, they're completely different teams.
Yeah, real different. And I think what happens is obviously it's probably not ideal for the Celtics to play the Nets, but like, would you even be really? I don't know. I don't think if I had my same kind of mindset and I was an NBA player, I wouldn't be afraid of the Nets. I think they fucking suck.
They certainly haven't showed incredible stick-to-itiveness or incredible effort at every single turn this year. Chris, what are your thoughts on this series as we get started here?
I'm going to give you some stats, and this is kind of going to tell you how I feel.
Here he is.
January 6th, Boston. Not even in the play-in game. They were 11th in the East. 11th. You know who finished 11th? The Knicks. They were below the Knicks on January 6th. And what did they do? They scratched, they clawed, they climbed their way back up to the number 2 seed to become relevant in the East again. And you brought up the coach, but I don't think it's the coach, Rod. I think it's the executive of the year, Brad Stevens. He's been the president for 300 plus days, not even a full year. Let's see what he's done. He's hired a coach. He has renegotiated 3 contract extensions. And what else? Oh, yeah. 9 trades already this year.
9 times.
He has done phenomenal work for that team and that organization, and they are primed to go deep and to continue to go deep for a long time. I think they win this series.
Wow.
Hey, by the way, isn't the coach, isn't he married to like Monica or someone from Destiny's Child? Like, you know what I mean?
I'm not aware of a Monica from Destiny's Child. Maybe she was one of the original Destiny's Child.
Monica the singer, like the fucking 90s R&B. I'm fairly confident he's married to a 90s R&B star.
I have absolutely no idea.
Chris, can you check that too?
Chris is the co-host of this podcast. He's not your personal stat boy.
And just to go back, old boy did play at Chino Hills.
Oh, there you go. Good call, Will.
Called that one too. Yeah. All right. I'm fucking. Oh.
You're not doing as well with that, but it's okay. I've decided to just not bring it up again.
I'm definitely
because I think what happened here is that you're a little bit like a child, right? When you tell a child not to do something, they're just sort of drawn to it. So the fact that I told you to stop doing it now is just not is gonna be even worse. So I probably shouldn't have done that. That's my bad.
That's all right. You guys can start now, and we can just call it an after dark.
So, Chris, you like the Celtics, huh? I don't want to pick the Nets here, but like, I guess I just have to say that like traditional NBA wisdom would say having the best player in the series usually means an awful lot, right? And that's Kevin Durant happens to be the best player on the planet, probably. So, I don't know, man.
He's the best player in this series, that's for sure. But I don't know if him alone can handle this 3-headed monster with Horford playing young again somehow in the center. Marcus Smart is playing out of his mind lately. He's really grasped on
stuff
and,
we know, though, Chris.
Done well at this point guard role, which he wasn't doing at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, into last year, I was thinking they needed to trade somebody like Smart or Tatum or even Brown.
Did they trade the German kid?
Yeah.
Schroeder.
Yeah, where did he go? God, he fell off, by the way.
That's the thing. Brad Stevens making 9 different trades.
That was a smart
Listen,
move,
that was a great argument that you made for Brad Stevens. Who are you taking in this series? Are you going to take the Nets or are you taking the Celtics?
Taking the Celtics easily. Sweep.
I think that possibly that there's a very good chance that the Nets don't come back together at all. And here's the other thing I want to say about Ben Simmons, since neither one of you guys chose to bring up Ben Simmons here. Like, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous for you to ask this guy, if we're to believe that he's had a dodgy back, and if we're to believe that he really is having mental health struggles, and mental health is something that is real, and I believe in that, and I'm not trying to belittle mental health whatsoever. If we're to believe that everything he said all year long is absolutely true, it seems completely detrimental to me to throw this guy out there in the middle of a playoff series. I mean, that just seems completely detrimental to me. If you're in the middle of a playoff series, why would you not foul Ben Simmons the minute this guy steps on the floor and say, prove it to me on the free throw line, bud, which could be the reason that you went into this mental place anyway, because he shot like 32% from the free throw line in the playoffs last year. I just don't think, if we're to believe that the Nets actually have the best interest of Ben Simmons at heart, and Ben Simmons has not been lying to us in an attempt to keep all of his money and not playing for a team with some guys that he didn't like, if we're to believe all of that other stuff that Clutch Sports told us all year long, him coming back to play in the playoffs just slaps that in the face, in my opinion.
If I'm Boston, I want him to come back game 4 right away. Come back as soon as possible. Let us get that win early.
All right, let's move on to the 3 and the 6 in the Eastern Conference, and that is, who is that? Who is 3? Is it Milwaukee?
Milwaukee versus the Chicago.
That's right, Milwaukee, Chicago. Woo, it's your fighting Bucks versus the Chicago Bulls back in the playoffs. People are happy in Chicago, but should they be, right? Chicago started off really, really well, but if you look at the end of the season, the Bulls were really not much better than a 500 team. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you got to keep in mind, they lost their floor generals. I mean, they lost a very underrated Lonzo Ball. They lost the white guy from Texas A&M. I can't think of his name. That played for the
Alex Caruso.
One team last year. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, and they got a tall foreign center. You know, they have, which is
Vucevic. How quickly you forget. He's not on your fantasy team anymore, and you forget all about him.
I didn't know. No, like I purposely knew it. I knew his name. I just was saying.
Oh, okay. You were forgetting his name because he's a bit forgetful at the end of the year. I see what you were doing there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because that's exactly how he's been. I mean, I don't know, Rod. You had him on your fantasy team, but from what I kind of remember, the last month or two, very inconsistent. Not very good.
He was downright terrible championship week, but thank goodness Pascal Siakam wasn't.
And but then when you look at the Bucks, I mean the Bucks have just been the Bucks. I mean, I know that a lot of people are always throwing out that stat. You know, when Giannis.
What's the Bucks' best 5, Wu-Tang? Tell me this. What's the Bucks' best 5? Because they got a couple of different players up there this year. They're a little different than last year, even though they have the same cast. They're a little different. Who's their best 5 now?
Well, I think best 5 is different than who I'd start.
Right, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're coming down to the end of the game, right? We're coming down to the end of the game in playoffs. Who's going to be on the court for the Bucks?
Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, Allen, and Portis.
So you think Portis is going to be on game late situations over Brook Lopez?
I think. I don't know if Brook Lopez. I mean, again, you don't know. He's barely played.
What about Connaughton? Connaughton did some good things in the playoffs last year,
I like
too.
Connaughton, but I just think I like Grayson Allen better as a, as a guy I wanted in crunch time.
I agree with you. I think Grayson Allen gets a little bit of a bad rap for his terrible attitude. But Chris, what about you? Are the Bucks the sleeping giant here, or should we not be sleeping on the Bulls?
No, sleep on the Bulls. They haven't done anything or shown anything in a month and a half that tells me that they can beat Milwaukee in a series in the playoffs. And
hey, by the way, and prior to that, wasn't right before they started to really suck after Rosen put on like 4 40-point games in a row or whatever it was, and then they just kind of went downhill.
That was kind of their last little hurrah, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, well, I agree. I think the Bucks are actually probably the best team in the East. I think they're probably going to get back to the championship game, but the Celtics are going to give them a run for their money. That kind of tips my hand as how things are going to move along. But let's touch on the final series in the East. That is the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the fighting Toronto Raptors, who finally get to play back in Toronto. And boy, does that factor in, because here we spent this entire year talking about Kyrie Irving being unable to play home games for the Brooklyn Nets due to his vaccination status. And now Matisse Thybulle steps into the spotlight, is unable to travel across the border to play in all of the games in Canada for his fighting 76ers. So the Sixers go down Thybulle. James Harden, much ballyhooed, much talked about, but has not deserved any of that talk at the end of the year for Sixers. Is he hurt? Is he broke down? Is he saving it for the playoffs? Who knows? I love Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's going to show up. Tyrese Maxey's going to show up, but I'm not sure if that's enough to beat one of the better coaches in the NBA, Nick Nurse. Chris, what do you got on Sixers v. Raptors?
This is really going to come down to Embiid making this his series, taking control. I think as long as he does that, Philadelphia comes out on top. If he can't do that, I could have an outside shot of Toronto winning it, but I really still see Philadelphia pulling this out.
Woo, what do you got?
Philly, and I think it'll actually be a lot quicker than people think.
Wow. Okay. Tell me why.
Like I kind of mentioned before, Philly's almost, they essentially are number one seed, and I think they were number one seed for a little bit also too.
They were. You're correct.
You know, yes, I agree with you. I think Nick Nurse is a great coach.
Are you scared? Are you scared by the fact that Nick Nurse can basically throw out 5 guys who are 6'8" and switch all over the court? Does that scare you any, Woo?
No, because they don't have a star.
They do not. But Fred VanVleet can heat it up every once in a while. OG Anunoby has showed up at big spots. Pascal Siakam, right? We thought a couple years ago he was on his way to stardom. Then he fell back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he's plateauing again. But you're right. They don't have a legit superstar.
And I think that's what you need. You need at least one.
And the Sixers have it. There's no doubt about that. The Sixers absolutely have it.
And if you kind of even look at, and I think you mentioned it, and again, I haven't heard this take before, but I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention lately with it, of him saving it for the playoffs. Because that's what he does, too. Look at how he kind of fucking mailed it in at each stop, and then, boom, then he gets traded, and it's like all of a sudden he's this new dude for like 5 games.
Mailed it in as being generous to him, by the way, Wu-Tang. I think it was almost a little bit worse than that, and he did it twice in 13 months, but yes.
But that's what I'm saying, though, like in the last little bit. Maybe this is part of his process.
It might be. Listen, the guy lives a different kind of life, right? Like he's out late. You know what I mean? He would make the Houston Rocket planes. Yeah, you know what I mean? They would drop him off. The guy lives a different lifestyle, and that's fine. I'm not going to begrudge that to him. But the James Harden that I've seen on the court the last month doesn't provide an awful lot of help to the Sixers. And Chris, I know that our guy Williams on the football podcast loves to talk coaching. How worried should I be about the Nick Nurse v. Doc Rivers thing here, right? Because I think in reputation, we all think Doc Rivers is on the same level as Nick Nurse. But if you kind of get in on the numbers, as much as I love me some Doc Rivers and he's great with the quote, I don't know how much he is with the X and O's these days.
If this was coming down, everything else equal, and it was coming down just to coaches, I'm going Nick Nurse.
I can't agree. God, I can't agree, and I want to, but I can't.
Really, Doc's playoff record, especially recently, is real spotty, Woo.
Doesn't matter. Doc's been coaching way longer. At a high level.
Yeah, but Nick Nurse has been coaching in the D League, and Nick Nurse has been coaching in Germany. You know what I mean? Like that guy's been all over the world, man.
But you hear what I'm saying. I really want you to think about this. If you really truly are talking about straight up coaching right now at this very juncture, I'd much rather go with Doc Rivers, who's dealt with every single situation pretty much you can think of, versus Nick Nurse, who has, but only on a smaller amount in the NBA.
Right, on a different level. I see what you're saying. I get what you mean there.
Yeah, so that's why I want to say Nick, because I think Nick Nurse is a great coach. I want to say it. I want to go, yeah.
Well, guess what? You want to say it? I'm going to say it, all right? I got to have one chaos pick, and this is completely me turning heel here, considering how much I've pumped for Joel Embiid all year long to win MVP. But I think this is actually Toronto Raptors in an upset, and I think things get really ugly in Philadelphia, and I think we may see James Harden on his 4th different team in 13 or in like 15, 16, 18 months by the beginning of next year. I think there's a very good chance of it because he did not sign that extension. So I think technically there's a lot of machinations that could make him a straight up free agent this summer.
He winds up back with Kyrie somehow.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, but what I'm saying, I was being silly.
I gotcha.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, if this doesn't work out, he's gonna have that same kind of reputation as Kyrie. Like, I don't think people are gonna be beating down the door trying to sign James Harden, especially when how many places even have cap money to do it.
No, I think you're absolutely right, but I think James has proven time and time again that he's about that money. So he's going to go someplace that'll sign him. So what if the Sacramento Kings open up a bunch of, you could see James Harden just living his days out in
I think that's a
Sacramento.
good call, actually, Rod. You know what? You're a soothsayer right now.
I'm not so sure about that. But, Chris, you're going with the 76ers, right? I'm crazy for picking the Raptors, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I don't think you're crazy, but that would be an upset. I'm going with Philly.
Will, your official pick for me to write down before we move on to the Western Conference?
Philly.
All right. Let's move over to the Western Conference, and let's start in the West the same way we did in the East. We'll do the 1-8 matchup. Now, I can't give you the team that is actually the 8th seed in the Western Conference, although I look over at the television right now and see that New Orleans is up 14 points as we are about ready to head into halftime. But, Chris, you kind of said it there. I don't think whether it's the Pelicans or the Clippers, any of us are going to pick any one of them to beat the Suns, are we?
No, why would you? The Suns have won more away games than any other team has won home games.
Wow, that's a nice stat. So I guess let's just do that then. Boom, Suns across the board. Let's move on. We can't talk about any team other than to say, is Monty Williams the coach of the year, Chris? Or is somebody going to sneak up and steal it from him again, just like old Thibodeau stole it from him last year?
I think you got to give it to Monty.
Yeah, that's easy.
I don't know, man. I just think there were some guys at the end of the year, right? Like, I think you're going to get a lot of Taylor Jenkins momentum because of how good the Memphis Grizzlies were. I think you're going to get a lot of Ime Udoka love as well because of just the turnaround that we all saw in 1 year and, like, the way that Udoka basically broke this team down and was like, hey, man, you guys got stagnant under the president, Brad Stevens, and I need you to be a lot tougher. And we were all kind of like, whoa, Ime, I don't know if you can ride NBA players that hard. And, like, he actually pulled it off and made them tougher, and look what they are now. So I wonder. I'm with you, Chris. I think it should be Monty, but I've just had this feeling recently that he might get snuck up on the quarter pole, to borrow a Kentucky Derby phrase, which is just around the corner.
They had the best record in the NBA by 8 games. Like, no one was close. Like,
yeah, and you know
that
what,
deserves
too?
something.
Think of this as like when Denzel won Training Day, right?
Ah, good analogy.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's been plenty of times where Monty Williams was possibly one of the coaches of the year. Even when he was over, where was he before? I can't even.
New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah, when he was in New Orleans. He coached the shit out of people. And I think
he's a heck of a guy from all accounts. Monty Williams is a special kind of guy. He had some tragedy in his life.
Yeah,
he's had some tragedy in his life.
Um,
Domer, shout out, Golden Domer, Notre Dame graduate.
Holla. But yeah, so I think no matter what, he's gonna get it. I don't think they're gonna look at even though I think Chris had a valid point with the Grizzlies coach.
No, that was me.
Or was that you? Sorry. Well, let's give credit.
Let's be honest. Any valid point that comes up on this podcast is probably coming out of me and not Chris. Let's just be honest.
Probably you. But I mean, his time will be next year when they have a similar record.
We'll see, but let's talk about Memphis right now. That, to me, is one of my favorite series of the entire first round, be it Eastern or Western Conference, man. And it's going to be relegated to NBA TV probably quite often, and that's a bummer. But Minnesota, the fighting Timberwolves, went nuts the other night up in Minnesota. Prince would have been proud of the celebration they threw up in Minnesota the other night when they won the play-in tournament, secured the 7th seed to take on those Memphis Grizzlies, who won over 50 games, including 22 when Ja Morant was hurt. Chris, I mean, what am I to make of the Memphis Grizzlies? Are they a fun team who is now going to see what real basketball is like in the playoffs, or are they a young team who is like, oh my God, they're the Oklahoma City Thunder who made it all the way to the finals?
They're a really, really good team. They're a really solid team. I do think that as far as star power, and we talked about this before, Minnesota might have bigger stars, but I still think Memphis wins this series. I really do. Anthony Edwards is showing that he can really be something special.
He was something else the other night. My
Right.
goodness, the athleticism on that kid.
And we all know who Cat can be when he puts his mind to it.
And he can
Let's hope
shoot.
he's not who he was the other night. My goodness, was that a no-show from him? That was a James Harden-like performance from him the other night.
That's a good analogy. For that reason, I still think Memphis comes out on top in this series. I think it'll be. I think Minnesota will win a couple games, but I think Memphis comes out on top.
Will, what do you got on this series full of a bunch of young stars who I know you're always a big fan of the young stars?
This is what I'm saying. I think this is akin to the Heat and Atlanta series. I think it's really kind of a wash. I think they're both good. They're both young. Yeah, I don't know. I got to go with Memphis probably just because they've been pretty consistently just a step under great. You know what I mean?
Here's what I'm going to say. I think Memphis got a little bit of a taste of the playoffs last year because let's not forget they actually made the playoffs last year by beating Golden State in the play-in tournament and then just got waxed by the Jazz. So I think that means something in the NBA. And I also think I want to kind of defend Minnesota here for a second, but then I also kind of want to knock them down a peg, right? I think that it's cool to see professional athletes celebrate because too often we are told that professional athletes don't care about anything, that these guys are robots, these guys are mercenaries. So to see that game meant something to those players the other night was cool, but they maybe celebrated a little bit too early. I'm kind of worried about that for my Timberwolves here, so I'm going to go with Memphis as well. All right, and
Chris?
the 3-6, Chris, refresh my memory of who the 3-6 is out in the West. My computer just did something weird on me here.
Golden State, Denver.
Oh, Denver. Jokic talk. Here we go. Chris, you lead us off.
So this is definitely an interesting one. I do think Golden State probably pulls this out. Golden State's really, really hard to beat at home. They have the second best home record in the league. I know Denver is good on the road. Golden State's not near as good. They're just barely over 500 on the road, so I do think Denver wins a few games, but Golden State comes out on top.
Chris, let me ask you this question. Is Golden State better with Klay Thompson on the floor or Jordan Poole on the floor?
Great question.
That's crazy,
Ryan.
right? It's crazy
That's
to
a
ask
great
it,
question.
but
I
the way
know.
Jordan Poole's played recently, you almost have to.
I know you really want him on the floor if you want Golden State to win, right? I mean, yes, you want Clay because you know what Clay can do. You've seen what he can do in the past.
But do you,
But
though,
he's
right? He's
not.
been off 2 years. That's the thing.
He's not, and you know he's still rusty, but do you want him to be rusty in the playoffs? Not really.
I wasn't lying when I said Clay to the Lakers, and I think that was in the text thread.
That wasn't a text thread. You did throw that out.
And I think this is something we're going to see in a couple years, and I think it's because they have Jordan Poole, who will be younger and possibly cheaper, and they're going to be like, all right, kick rocks, you know? I truly think that's going to happen, especially depending on how they do this year.
What I'm worried about is
They chumped it, Rod. They chumped it.
I love Steve Kerr, right? I love Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr is a very good basketball coach, knows more about the game of basketball than I'll ever hope to know, right? NBA champion, played in college championship, NBA coach, won rings.
You won't know more about podcasting, though, Rod.
Well, I appreciate that. But even though he's been on a podcast before, he was a flying coach. Shout out to the podcast Flying Coach on the Ringer Podcast Network. But I just don't think he's going to be able to say to Clay, hey, you're going to have to sit this one out, bud. I got to go with Jordan Poole. I just don't think he's going to be able to say that. And I also think he's still going to be trying to truck Andre Iguodala's carcass out there a little bit. And I think that hurts the Golden State Warriors at times too.
Rod, who's your starting five for the Warriors presently?
Their best five for me includes Jordan Poole. It really does.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that. Who else would you put in there?
And I personally think that
what's his name? That rookie? What the
Kuminga. I think Kuminga needs to be out there as well.
I think he's top 5 on that team.
I think if you have
No
Kuminga,
bullshit.
Poole, Draymond, Steph, and then maybe Kevon Looney. I mean, because if you're talking about you're playing, especially in this series,
put
playing against
Clay.
Jokic. I don't know, man. In this series with Jokic, you got to have somebody big out there, Chris. Am I wrong? I mean, you got to have somebody big out there in the series with Jokic,
Or
right?
you just let Jokic get
no.
his.
No,
I don't think you can go small.
You got to put Looney out there. I would like Golden State so much better if they got rid of Draymond Green.
I agree.
Oh, he's the heartbeat of that team, though.
100%.
No,
I
He's
He's tough to
I-
like, but he's the heartbeat of
100% I
that
agree.
team.
Chris.
Maybe 2 or 3 years ago he was the heartbeat, but not anymore.
I've never
Their
heard
record
so
this
much
year,
truth
they
in
struggled
my
without
fucking
him
life.
this year.
They struggled
much
with him
truth.
this year. The
I
king
agree.
of the triple single is just not doing it like he used to.
I agree with you, Chris. He's the one killing him.
Oh, that's just not true. I
His
mean, that's
defense
cool that you
is
guys don't
not
like Draymond
there.
Green, and
His defense is
he's
not there like
slipping
it
a
used
little
to
bit.
be.
I'll agree with you there, but you guys are taking the slander too far, man. You guys are taking the slander too far. And I don't want to be somebody that defends Draymond Green because I don't want to defend all of his actions, but like the numbers are clear, man. Like just the way that the ball doesn't stick with him and the way that he sees things and the way that he directs traffic on both defense and offense, man, it means something to the Warriors. It just does.
I don't know. I still like what I.
Not as
and
much.
funny
I think
enough
part
is
of that's.
I would replace.
I don't know. You
I'd
you
replace-
still got all that history that you're still thinking of. It's not the same.
Would you rather have Kuminga? Rod, here's my question. Would you rather have Kuminga or Draymond Green at this point?
Draymond Green's out in my final five. Sorry. I mean, you guys listen. You guys have your anti-Draymond love fest, and that brings you guys together, and so often you're at odds. But Draymond Green's playing in my final 5 minutes on any basketball team that I got.
You didn't say final 5 minutes. You just said five, like your top.
That's what I've
five.
been talking about the entire podcast. What did you think I meant?
You're just top 5 of the entire team.
No, I meant final 5 minutes. That's the most important 5 minutes of the final 5 minutes of a playoff series. That's what I was talking about.
Well, go ahead, Rod. I guess I'm incorrect.
That's not what I said at all. I mean, you just completely threw off the vibe there by that. That's not what I said at all. Because you weren't listening to a word that I said. All right, Chris. So
Okay.
you're going with
So,
you're
I got
going
Golden
with Golden
State.
State, Chris, or you're going with Denver?
I'm going with Golden State.
All right. Wu-Tang, we're asking you to make a pick in this series of Golden State versus Denver. Was I clear enough with that one?
You betcha.
And your pick
Golden
is?
State. I gotta go Golden State.
Okay. I'm going Golden State as well because I think that they
think
are
that's
a better
tough.
basketball team than we give them credit for. But I don't like the fact that we have all been exactly the same on every series in the West. So, hurrah. Let's go to the 4-5 series that I would have said was going to be a complete walkover until the final game of the regular season happened. And Luka Doncic, who we thought was going to be suspended for being a bit of a temper boy and getting his 16th technical foul during a break between quarters, I might say. It's almost like on Friday when Craig got fired on his day off. Luka got his 16th technical foul, not even during live play. They rescinded the technical foul. Luka played in the game and then strained his calf. We don't know how long he's going to be out in this series. I still think the Utah Jazz are reeling and that the Mavericks will probably beat them. But Wu-Tang, you lead off.
Rod, you totally forgot to tell the world that you won the championship too with that.
Yeah, you know what people care less about than many things we've probably already brought up is our fantasy basketball championship, Wu-Tang. So we don't need to waste the people's time here at this point. If you want any time to dance on the Lakers' grave, we better not do a sojourn into this right now.
All right. What was the question again, real quick?
The Utah Jazz versus the Dallas Mavericks.
I'm going with Utah. Playoff tested.
Holy smokes.
I think even if they had Luka, it's remnant. Do you remember when Luka hit that big shot and you thought he was going to beat? I think it was the Clippers.
Yes, it was in the bubble.
Yeah, and I think I'd akin that Clippers team to this Utah Jazz team, and I think it's basically Luka and Luka's team again. If that makes sense.
Wu-Tang's got Utah. Chris Wu did say earlier in this pod that he wasn't watching as much basketball this year as he would have liked to, and he clearly hasn't been keeping up with the Utah Jazz because I think that team is falling apart. Chris, am I wrong?
You're not wrong,
He's gonna say,
but
that you're
it's
not
not
right
as evident as what some other teams in the West and their falling apart is. It still was a significant achievement, I think, for them to stay in that top 5 and in the West. And they are lucking out at the right time because Luka is missing game 1, and there is significant concern apparently about him missing game 2. So, if Luka's out these first 2 games, Utah can steal one, if not both of them. That gives them a clear shot at winning the series.
Luka's going to be out the whole series.
I disagree. I'm taking the Mavericks.
I think he comes back game 3.
Nope.
If he comes back game 3, Dallas has to win out, and that can be tough. As iffy as the Jazz are right now, that still can be tough.
So you guys are both taking Utah.
Yep.
All right, let me ask you this then. Let's stay out in the West and move forward this way. If you guys both have Utah, that means Utah will play the Phoenix Suns. Will Utah beat Phoenix?
No.
Wu-Tang?
My mind says no, but my heart with that, depending on, like, again, I really feel like Utah's gonna shellac the stuff out of Dallas.
You don't have to say stuff at this point, brother. We're already through the looking glass.
Shellac the shit out of Dallas, or you know what I mean, out of Dallas.
I know, but I'm asking you now. It's nut cutting time, my friend. All right, that's as close as you're going to get me to cursing right there. I'm asking you right now. You keep telling me you think Utah's good. Do you think Utah's going to beat Phoenix in the second round? Yes or no?
I'm going with a yeah.
Okay, I love it. Man, go out there. Get your take out in the world.
That's
Wu-Tang
my,
has Utah in the Western Conference Finals. Chris, Memphis, Golden State. Who do you like in that matchup?
I actually like Memphis in this matchup.
Well, that's what you predicted, right? I love how you threw in this matchup. You predicted that it would be Memphis versus Golden State.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Golden State. I like Golden State v. Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. That's what I like. Wu-Tang, what do you got?
I want to say Golden State, but again, I think I'm going to go with Memphis. I think Memphis is going to do it.
All right, so you got Memphis v. Utah in the Western Conference Finals. The NBA league office would be losing its mind. Chris, who do you got in the Western Conference Finals?
Phoenix.
No, in the Western Conference Finals. Phoenix versus?
Memphis.
Phoenix versus Memphis. All right. And so then you got Phoenix going on to the championship. Woo, are you taking your fighting Jazz all the way to the championship?
I am.
Wow. Wu-Tang has the Jazz. Wu-Tang, listen, you are going to be an internet legend. If anybody actually listens to this podcast, you are going to be an internet legend for calling Utah to the championship game if they make it there, my friend.
I don't think it's that far from crazy.
I think it is. I think Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell absolutely hate each other. I think Quinn Snyder is already thinking about his second job. I think Donovan Mitchell is also thinking about what team he's going to play on next year. I think it's trouble ahead for the Utah Jazz. But hey, you could be right, and you were the first to say it. Here we go. We all have similar picks in the Eastern Conference, except Wu-Tang has the Hawks beating the Heat, and I have the Raps beating the 76ers. So we're just going to throw those out. The way this would line up, the Heat, right, or Wu-Tang's Hawks, would then play the worst seed, which would be the 76ers or my Raptors. Do either one of those strike you guys as a big upset?
I still say the Heat come out on top.
You still say the Heat are coming out?
Yep.
Wu-Tang, do you like your Hawks going further, I guess, is sort of what I'm asking.
Against the Sixers? No.
Yeah, because that's what you predicted. Yeah, so you like the Sixers to be able to move on.
Yep.
I like the Heat to be able to move past the Raptors and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So then that takes us down to Celts v. Bucks. Chris, you gave us the big talk about Boston. You did say, I think, that you had them moving on, but you're picking them to beat Milwaukee here?
Yes, I am having them take out Milwaukee.
Nice. All right, so you got them taking on the Heat. And then Wu-Tang, you've got Celts Bucks. I'd imagine you got your Bucks winning that.
You know, this is one of those same things where my mind, like, says Boston, but my heart is going with the Bucks, so I'm going with the Bucks.
Nice. All right, so you got Bucks. Chris has Celtics. Wu, you said the 76ers would beat the Hawks. Chris, you still like the Heat, right? So, Chris, you got Heat, Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals?
That's correct.
All right. And then I am going to have the Heat versus the Celtics as well. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I love the Bucks. I do, but I think there's something in the Celtics team. I really do. I think there's something in the Celtics team, and I think they have just enough offense if that defense plays as good as it's been playing.
There's something special about this team.
If Robert Williams doesn't come back, right, we're hearing right now that there's even a chance he might suit up for game 1, but if he doesn't come back by the second round, then I reserve the right to be changing my pick. But as of right now, I think Williams is going to come back, and I like Heat v. Celtics, and give me the Celtics. I like the Celtics, man. I like the Celtics going to the NBA championship. Chris, how about you?
I'm right there with you. I got the Celtics over the Heat.
Nice. Wu-Tang, who do you got coming out in the East to take on, I guess you said Utah, so who do you got taking on your fighting Jazz, Wu?
Well, you didn't let me, because I think it's going to be the Bucks and
Bucks v 76ers. That's
Bucks
what you
v
have.
76ers, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks beat the 76ers. I think their end runs, they know how to, they'll contain Harden. I think that's it.
And so then your Bucks take out the Jazz and go back to back. Is that what you're predicting for us here?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. So there you go. I'm going Phoenix wins the NBA championship, though.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I would have Phoenix getting it done this year over Boston, who gets a resurgence getting back to the finals.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it too. I think Phoenix gives us a bit of a San Antonio Spurs kind of feel here, right? Remember when the Ray Allen shot buried the Spurs, and then they came back the next year and won the championship? I think that's kind of what we're going to see out of Phoenix here.
Yeah, Chris Paul's going to get his. The Illuminati will come through this year.
The Illuminati will come through. Well, you know what, Chris? What you just did right there, you set it up perfectly for our guy, Woo. Chris and I are going to mute out here for a second, brother. You freestyle. You have the floor. Dance on the grave of your guy, LeBron. Here we go.
I take no joy in this.
Liar. You're an absolute liar. You take complete joy in this. Come on, man. Don't get shy now. Take your shots. Take your shots.
No. I think if I was LeBron James accepting my my award, not the Razzie Award for the worst.
There he is. Now he's warming up.
Year.
Now he's warming up.
If I was accepting this award, first person I would thank is probably Clutch Sports for all their fantastic decisions they've made. And a special shout out to Nerlens Noel, who would say the kindest things all about the things we've done.
That's true. He said many of those in court. That's a nice pull from you right there, Wu-Tang.
And then in addition to, I'd like to thank Coach Frank Vogel for hanging in there, being the puppet before J-Kid left, and taking one for the team when Russ decided to have the ball and you just indulged him.
You're just being so gentle. You're being so gentle right now, and I can't figure out why. You've been loving this Lakers season all year long. You love nothing more than seeing LeBron get his comeuppance, and you're afraid right now, and I don't understand it.
No, again, this is LeBron giving his thanks to you. I'd like to thank AD for coming to the season out of shape, and once again proving Wu-Tang right. That
I love in this scenario, LeBron knows of your takes. That's great. That's my favorite part of this acceptance speech.
That AD that his take was that AD had never been on a winning team except for that 1 year with Boogie. So sure, he'll be a great guy to have on the team. And I think first of all and foremost,
Kendrick Nunn right now is saying, hey, do I get a shout out here for being a big mid-level exception and never playing a minute? Do I get a shout out here? I think Trevor Ariza is like, do I get a shout out here for signing for veteran minimum? And everybody's saying, wow, Trevor Ariza's back to the Lakers. He's going to provide some defense and 3-pointers and then playing like 8 games. Can Trevor Ariza get a shout out here?
I have one more shout out. This shout out goes out to none other than the greatest AIDS patient in the entire world.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Mr. Irving.
Oh, no.
He couldn't even get it out.
He couldn't. He was
He
so
can't breathe
enamored
anymore.
by his own joke. He was so enamored by his own joke, he couldn't even get it out. I don't know what better note to end on than that, folks. Oh, Wu-Tang, thank you so much for coming back to the
what a
Morgan You Know podcast. We love it so
What a great
much.
time. I miss this. This is so fun. I wish I had... It was awesome.
Well, the Morgan You Know podcast network, this is Balls and Brew. I almost made it sound like you were on the Morgan You Know. This is Balls and Brew. But we appreciate you coming on. We have you down on paper here as Utah to the NBA championship. So if that pays, my friend, you should go to DraftKings right now and put some money on that if you truly do believe that Utah's going to get to the NBA Finals, because you can make some money on that, I'd imagine.
I do. I don't know how to do that, though.
That's probably for the best, because you do too much betting, you can get yourself in trouble. Or you just listen to us, and we'll get you in even more trouble because we don't know what we're talking about basketball-wise. Football-wise, we sometimes know what we're talking about, but basketball-wise, we're just grasping at straws here, especially in this year's playoffs. But, Chris, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. The playoffs seemingly last forever, so I imagine you and I will have a chance to chop them up a little bit as Balls and Brew continues here.
Oh, yeah, we got, 2 months of this?
Yeah, I was going to say, the NBA playoffs, as much as I love them, they do take forever, so we got plenty of time. But Mr. Williams contacted me through text message the other day, Josh Williams, our gambler, our football handicapper, and reminded me that the NFL draft is coming up here at the end of April, so we probably will be getting him on here real soon to do a little bit of draft talk. And then a sport that I love, the Kentucky Derby, is always the first Saturday in May, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well here in the future. So not just NBA playoffs, as Wu-Tang is making all types of noise in the background there while I'm trying to do the outro. That's fabulous, Wu. Thank you. You got to love the Woo. You never know what you're getting with him, and that's what makes for entertainment, folks. Until next time here on Balls and Brew, I have had a blast. Hopefully you have had a blast listening. Chris, final word goes to you.
Goodbye, Internet.